Hey YouTube, it's Cello Ben, and today is day 23 of the 100 days of practice. Fortunately, I basically have down all of the repertoire that I'm going to need for the next week or so I'm feeling quite liberated by that. But I think one thing that's good to do when you have some extra time on your hands at the cello is to work to beef up your technique. And what better way to do that than by working on an étude? I'm going to take a look at a Popper étude today that I've never played before and just start some preliminary work on it. Now, if you don't have the Popper études already, I recommend investing in the Bärenreiter edition. That is an edition that is going to have, last time I checked at least, a list of recommendations for études based upon the pieces that you're working on and what whoever edited it thinks would be helpful for you to learn. I do not have that edition. I have an old international edition that I've had now for probably almost 10 years, if not already 10 years. But if you're starting fresh, or if you have a bit of cash to spare and are looking for a good Popper edition, I would really recommend that. But for now, I'm going to take a look at an étude that I more or less picked randomly, and I just want to sort of work through the process of beginning an étude with you all, with an étude that I've never played before. So this is Popper's 21st étude from the High School of Cello Playing. Let's see. So first of all, we've got slurs over a slur over 2 bars, and that's how it's grouped for the first 4 bars. So the thing is, Popper, if it's something like Brahms, you know, he might write a slur over 4 bars or whatever, and it's really a phrasing thing. But I'm inclined to think differently with Popper, because he was a cellist and he's writing these for our technical edification. Let's see what happens if I try to do it in one bow. So yeah, that indicates to me that maybe the tempo will eventually need to be faster. It's got a weird tempo marking, allegro molto moderato, allegro very moderately. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to make of that. But for now, I'm going to split the 2 bars into 2 bows, just so that I have leeway in the bow to practice slowly. One thing that is helpful about this international edition is that it has some pretty good fingerings written in by the editor. I need to check to see if the Bärenreiter has those fingerings in it. If it doesn't, then I would still maybe recommend going for it, just so that you can have that appendix that it comes with to reference. But I may also recommend that you invest in the international edition, just so that you have both. International edition is probably going to be super cheap, while the Bärenreiter is going to maybe cost more. If you can afford it, I would recommend going for both. But the international edition is definitely helpful for fingerings. If it turns out the Bärenreiter has the same fingerings, then let me see if it says it doesn't say. But I'm gonna let you know in the video description whether or not the Bärenreiter seems to have fingerings. If it does, then either just go ahead and get that, or get the international too, so that you have maybe 2 different sets of fingerings depending on how it was done. Or if it does not have fingerings, I would definitely recommend getting both. Sorry for the digression there, but I wanted to mention that. And now on with the étude. let's see the fingering here. Let me get that fifth better. Let's just work on that again. It seems like the focus is going to be on smooth shifting and also on making sure that these fifths are in tune, because these arpeggios so far almost always start with a fifth. Let me work on Another thing to note is that it's very important to follow dynamics and articulations and things like that, and to really make your étude playing musical. Because number one, it is music, and number two, you want to make sure that any technical things that you learn can be applied to the repertoire. And you never want to be playing the repertoire without emotion or without feeling or without musicality, unless maybe it's indicated somewhere in a piece that it's supposed to be very mechanical. But I digress. Let me try and up the tempo now a little bit at the top and see if I can start to get the bowings as they're printed. Good, that's getting better. It's still a little constricted, so I need to try and be use less at the front of the use less at the beginning of my bows. Especially this one here, because we want to kind of blossom on that up to that high E. Since this is still sort of a rough look, let me go forward a little bit to where it starts to get harder and see how I fare. Okay, so that got really difficult really quickly. So, first step is to practice these octaves. Here. first one shouldn't be too bad because it's harmonics. Well, the top one is not listed as a harmonic, but I might do it as such because the previous A right there was listed as a harmonic. I'm going to start doing them solid so that I can slide between these first two octaves. I want to move my whole hand shape down, ideally, instead of moving finger by finger. That's not in tune. Needs to be a little tighter. Not with tightness, but I mean in terms of the interval. So bars like this, popper is just arpeggiating one chord, but doing it with figuration, or you're putting figuration into a chord. So these two bars here, we're not moving the hand, so we need to just get things really in tune where we are. One more time for good measure. Good, that's getting better. It's getting flat. Okay, so I have my work cut out for me with this étude. What I think I'm going to do, because I need to cut this off soon, or iMovie on my phone is going to start yelling at me that it's too long, I think I'm going to make this part 1 and do part 2 tomorrow. So I'm sorry that it was a little bit all over the place today, but that's how it can be, and usually is when you're starting a new piece of music or étude or whatever. Well, that is a piece of music. But anyway, I got to sign off for now, but I'll see you tomorrow morning with more Popper 21. Have a good one.